Welcome to this explainer. Right, let's dive straight into something I guarantee we all struggle with, our vanishing ability to focus. If you've been feeling like your attention span is, shrinking by the day, believe me, you are not alone. But what if I told you the way we think about distraction is completely backwards? Today, we're taking a paradigm-shifting look at why our brains are constantly fighting to focus, and way more importantly, how we can actually take our attention back.
So ask yourself, what was the very first thing you looked at today? For most of us, let's be honest, it's a glowing rectangle. Our source material highlights this incredibly relatable morning routine. You wake up, boom, immediately check the smartphone. Then you migrate to the kitchen, cooking up an omelet while staring at an iPad propped right next to the stove. And all the while, your smartwatch is just tapping, beeping, and blooping away on your wrist. It's literally a relentless digital barrage before breakfast is even over.
Section 1. The Screen Epidemic. A life of glowing rectangles. To break this exhausting cycle, our researcher decided to try something completely radical. He limited his smartphone use to just 30 minutes a day for an entire month, just to see what actually happens to a forced unplugged brain.
And the baseline he found? It's genuinely shocking. 40 seconds. After poring over tens of thousands of words of research and talking to global experts on focus, this crazy statistic emerged. When we're working in front of a computer, especially if our phone is just sitting right there nearby, our average attention span on any single task is a mere 40 seconds before we switch to doing something else. 40 seconds?
But unfortunately, it gets worse. 35 seconds. If you have a communication app like Slack open while you're trying to work, that already tiny attention span plummets even further to just 35 seconds. We are constantly fracturing our focus into these microscopic, totally unproductive fragments.
Which leads us right into Section 2, the root cause, why we simply can't look away. Diving deep into all this data revealed a massive realization. We usually misdiagnose our own problem.
It really comes down to the myth versus the reality. See, we tend to think our problem is just that our brains are distracted, but the reality is far more profound. Distraction? That's just a symptom. Our real problem is that our brains are overstimulated. We actually crave the distraction in the first place because, well, our minds have become hopelessly addicted to a constant, intense stream of stimulation. It's something called the novelty bias. Basically, our brains literally reward us for checking social media or email with a massive hit of dopamine. Get this, that is the exact same chemical pleasure we get from eating a whole medium pizza from Domino's or, making love. We get a chemical rush from finding new information. So our minds actually reward us for seeking out the very things that break our focus. No wonder it's so hard to look away.
Section 3. The boredom experiment. Embracing the mundane. To cure this constant overstimulation, our researcher forced himself to do the most incredibly boring activities imaginable for 1 hour a day for an entire month. The timeline of this challenge is honestly absolutely agonizing. On day 1, he read the iTunes terms and conditions. Day 4, he waited on hold with Air Canada's baggage claim. And hey, quick pro tip from the source material here, if you truly want to be stuck on hold forever and maximize your boredom, don't call reservations, call baggage claim. Anyway, moving on to day 19, he counted all the zeros he could find in the first 10,000 digits of pi. And by day 24, he literally just watched a clock tick for an entire hour.
So, what was the point of all this torture? 8 days. Research shows that it uniquely takes about 8 days for the human mind to fully adjust downward to a lower level of stimulation and finally, actually calm down. This maps perfectly onto why short weekend vacations often just aren't enough to help us recharge. Our brains need way more than a few days to detox from all those constant dopamine hits.
Section 4. The power of scatter focus. The magic of a wandering mind. The reward for enduring all that intense, agonizing boredom? His attention span physically expanded, and he experienced this sudden surge of creative ideas.
As J.R.R. Tolkien famously wrote, "Not all those who wander are lost." This perfectly introduces the concept of what's called scatter focus. Think about it. When do your best, most brilliant ideas strike you? It's rarely when you're hyper-focused on a screen, right? Deliberately letting your attention rest and just letting your mind wander actually allows your brain to connect swirling constellations of thoughts. That is what unlocks your absolute best ideas.
But when we let our minds rest, where do they actually go? Well, we think about the past about 12% of the time, and the present 28% of the time. But look at that huge 48% chunk.
This is our mind's perspective bias. This is exactly why we constantly find ourselves planning out our entire future while just standing in the shower. Oh, and if you're doing the math, that remaining 12%? That's when our mind is just completely dull and blissfully blank, which frankly sounds pretty fantastic right about now. So how do we actually harness this? Well, the key is finding actionable ways to let your mind wander through simple tasks that do not consume your full attention. Stuff like knitting on a plane, taking an extra long bath so you can literally soak in your ideas, walk into another room without your phone, or even getting a massage. The real trick here is to keep a notepad nearby. As your brain enjoys that low stimulation environment, it's going to start connecting ideas, and you will absolutely want to capture that sudden burst of creativity.
Section 5. Reclaiming your attention. Creating room to move. To truly fix our focus, we have to make a critical anti-hustle realization. We are already doing enough. Actually, scratch that, we're doing way too much. We absolutely do not need to figure out how to fit more into our days.
Think about highway traffic for a second. Traffic moves forward not because of how fast the cars are going, but because of the space that exists between the cars. Your mind and your work are exactly the same way. We require space, not constant high-speed input, to actually move forward and generate meaningful thoughts. To help create that much-needed space, we challenge you to test the waters of a lower stimulation lifestyle with this step-by-step 2-week challenge derived directly from our source material. Step 1. Use your phone's built-in screen limits to physically lower your daily stimulation. Step 2. Establish a daily disconnection ritual, like disconnecting from the internet completely from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Step 3. Observe a weekly technology Sabbath on Sundays to just reconnect with the physical world. And Step 4. Intentionally rediscover boredom for just a few minutes a day. Seriously, just lay on the couch, look at the ceiling, and observe where your mind goes.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a really thought-provoking question. What would your life look like with a bit more space? If we're constantly distracted, those moments of overstimulation just accumulate into an overwhelming kind of directionless life. But if we can lower our stimulation and calm our minds, we don't just get more work done, we get our creativity back, and we live a better life because of it. The state of our attention ultimately determines the state of our entire lives. So take a breath, unplug for a bit, and see what brilliant ideas are waiting for you in the quiet.